Hello, boys and girls. We are going to continue reading because of Winn-Dixie today. We're going to read chapter 7. Today, I'm going to do things a little bit different. After I finish reading the book to you, the chapter to you, I'm going to walk you through how to complete the graphic organizer, the activity for the chapter, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how that works and how that looks. So that'll happen at the end of the chapter. So listen to the chapter, and then I will talk to you about the activity. So, chapter 7. Remember, this is the librarian, whose name is Miss Franny Block, is telling Opal the story about when the bear came to the library. So that's where we left off in chapter 6. And this is the story. So this is Miss Franny Block talking here. Back when Florida was wild, when it consisted of nothing but palmetto trees and mosquitoes so big they could fly away with you, Miss Franny Block started in, and I was just a little girl no bigger than you. My father, Herman W. Block, told me that I could have anything I wanted for my birthday, anything at all. Miss Franny looked around the library. She leaned in close to me. I don't want to appear prideful, she said, but my daddy was a very rich man. A very rich man. She nodded and then leaned back and said, and I was a little girl who loved to read. So I told him, I said, Daddy, I would most certainly love to have a library for my birthday. A small little library would be wonderful. You asked for a whole library? A small one, Miss Franny nodded. I wanted a little house full of nothing but books, and I wanted to share them too. And I got my wish. My father built me this house, this very one we are sitting in now. And at a very young age, I became a librarian. Yes, ma'am. What about the bear, I said. Did I mention that Florida was wild in those days? Franny Block said. Uh-huh, you did. It was wild. There were wild men and wild women and wild animals. Like bears? Yes, ma'am, that's right. Now, I have to tell you, I was a little Miss Know-It-All. I was a Miss Smarty Pants with my library full of books. Oh, yes, ma'am, I thought I knew the answers to everything. Well, one hot Thursday, I was sitting in my library with all the doors and windows open and my nose stuck in a book when a shadow crossed the desk. And without looking up, yes, ma'am, without even looking up, I said, is there a book I can help you find? Well, there was no answer, and I thought it might have been a wild man or a wild woman, scared of all those books and afraid to speak up. But then I became aware of a peculiar smell, a very strong smell. I raised my eyes slowly, and standing right in front of me was a bear. Yes, ma'am, a very large bear. How big? I asked. Oh, well, said Miss Franny, perhaps 3 times the size of your dog. Then what happened? I asked her. Well, said Miss Franny, I looked at him and he looked at me. He put his big nose up in the air and sniffed as if he was trying to decide if a little Miss Know-It-All librarian was what he was in the mood to eat. And I sat there, and then I thought, well, if this bear intends to eat me, I am not going to let it happen without a fight. No, ma'am, she said very slowly and carefully. I raised up the book I was reading. What book was it? I asked. Why, it was War and Peace, a very large book. I raised it up slowly, and then I aimed it carefully and threw it right at the bear and screamed, "Be gone!" And do you know what? No, ma'am, I said. He went. But this is what I will never forget. He took the book with him. Nuh-uh, I said. Yes, ma'am, said Miss Franny. He snatched it up and ran. Did he come back? I asked. No, I never saw him again. Well, the men in town used to tease me about it. They used to say, Miss Franny, we saw that bear of yours out in the woods today. He was reading that book, and he said it sure was good, and would it be all right if he kept it for just another week? Yes, ma'am, they did tease me about it, she sighed. I imagine I'm the only one left from those days. I imagine I'm the only one that even recalls that bear. All my friends, everyone I knew when I was young, they are all dead and gone. She sighed again. She looked sad and old and wrinkled. It was the same way I felt sometimes, being friendless in a new town and not having a mama to comfort me. I sighed too. Winn-Dixie raised his head off his paws and looked back and forth between me and Miss Franny. He sat up then and showed Miss Franny his teeth. Well, now look at that, she said. That dog is smiling at me. It's a talent of his, I told her. It's a fine talent, Miss Franny said. A very fine talent. And she smiled back at Winn-Dixie. We could be friends, I said to Miss Franny. I mean, you and me and Winn-Dixie, we could all be friends. Miss Franny smiled even bigger. "Why, that would be grand," she said, "just grand." And right at that minute, right when the three of us had decided to be friends, who should come marching into the Herman W. Block Memorial Library but old pinch-faced Amanda Wilkinson. She walked right up to Miss Franny's desk and said, "I finished Johnny Tremain and I enjoyed it very much. I would like something even more difficult to read now because I'm an advanced reader." "Yes, dear, I know," said Miss Franny. She got up out of her chair. Amanda pretended like I wasn't there. She stared right past me. "Are dogs allowed in the library?" she asked Miss Franny as they walked away. "Certain ones," said Miss Franny, "a select few." And then she turned around and winked at me. I smiled back. I had just made my first friend in Naomi, and nobody was going to mess that up for me, not even old pinch-faced Amanda Wilkinson. So that is the story about how the bear came into the library and how Opal and Miss Franny Block became friends. So now if you look at the Google Doc here, I did a couple of things new this week. At the top of it, you will see 4 new vocabulary. There's a vocabulary link that you can follow, and you'll be able to learn about 4 new vocabulary words. So you should check that out now. You can pause the video. And then I also added the photos of the pages of the book so that you can read along with it as I read it. So now that you've listened to it, you can open this document. It says Chapter 7 Text to Read, and you can follow along as I read it so you can see it too. Then let's look at the assignment. It says, after you have listened to the chapter one time, please listen again and pay attention to the differences between the way Miss Franny Block felt and acted when she saw Winn-Dixie in the window in Chapter 6, and the way she felt and acted when she saw the bear in this chapter, Chapter 7. Complete the graphic organizer below with 1 to 2 ways that Miss Franny Block felt or acted differently when she saw Winn-Dixie and when she saw the bear, and 1 to 2 ways that Miss Franny Block felt or acted the same when she saw Winn-Dixie and when she saw the bear. I have done one for you. So we'll look at that together in a minute, but let me finish the instructions. It says, after you complete the graphic organizer, please use the information from the graphic organizer to write a paragraph comparing the time when Miss Franny Block saw Winn-Dixie in the window and when she saw the bear. After the graphic organizer, there are sentence frames to help you write your paragraph. All right, so if we look at the graphic organizer, the first section says, how did Miss Franny Block feel or act differently when she saw Winn-Dixie in the window at the library? How did Miss Franny Block feel or act differently when she saw the bear? And in what ways did Miss Franny Block feel the same when she saw Winn-Dixie and when she saw the bear? So in order to do this, I'm going to go back to Chapter 7, and I'm going to sort of look around. I'm going to skip the part at the beginning, and then she gets to the part about the bear. And so I'm in the middle one. How did Miss Franny Block feel or act differently when she saw the bear? And I'm going to see, let's see, she raises her eyes and sees the bear. And then it says, I sat there and then I thought. So that's what I'm going to put in my graphic organizer in the middle category when it says, how did Miss Franny Block feel or act differently when she saw the bear? So I wrote in there, she sat quietly and thought about what to do. And then if we think back to Chapter 6, which you might need to go back and listen to that video again, but we will remember that when Miss Franny Block saw Winn-Dixie in the window, she screamed and hid under the desk. Do you remember that? So in my first column here where it says, how did Miss Franny Block feel or act differently when she saw Winn-Dixie in the window of the library, I wrote she screamed. So then in the far right column where it says, in what ways did Miss Franny Block feel the same when she saw Winn-Dixie and when she saw the bear, I wrote that she was scared. Because when I thought about how she felt in both moments, even though one time she was quiet and one time she screamed, I think in both of those moments she was scared. So I started the graphic organizer for you. I would like you to add 1 or 2 more ways that she felt the same or differently when she saw Winn-Dixie and when she saw the bear. Once you've completed the graphic organizer, please write the paragraph. Don't forget to share it with me. I hope you're enjoying it, and we will see you next week.